Is it working? Oh, there we go. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna there we go. Oh, hello, guys, guys and gals. Let me place this a little better way. It's not like taking in the whole screen right here. Welcome. This is just going to be a little bit of an update video. I haven't mostly been doing this so far. Beginner's creation. Which, if you were there for the first video, it's basically the same as this. These are not two separate things. These are the same exact document. But I was going to say two separate names. This is the new name. Mostly because, well, there's already a lot of I guess there's a character that has Mundus, and there's I think some reference to Mundus and Skyrim or some shit. I think it was Elder Scrolls. And so I was like, how could I make this feel like a more original name? And of course I'm like, why don't I just call it the name of the actual creator being itself, or the creation god's name, and say creation? And some of you might be like, if you're new to this, or a lot of you might be new to this, you're like, why is it called Beginner's Creation? Is this like dummies, beginners to how to create a universe? No, it's not like that. It's just the god. It's just the guy's name. It's just the god being's name is called the Beginner. Like how there's his cosmic opposite, his polar opposite being the being that destroys, which is the Ender, and they have that type of relationship with each other. One creates on the other side of the universe, and on the opposite side of the universe is the Ender, and he destroys things. He's the end, as you call it. One creates planets and space clouds and solar systems and galaxies, and the other one is gets rid of the expired ones, gets rid of the ones that are intended to die at some point. Like I said, expired. Like how you throw away expired milk. Just imagine a giant shout out today from space coming to get that milk and then just devour it. And that is the Ender. That despises creation. One creates, one destroys. Anyway, I've been working on this for a while because I think I put it I might have put it in the post. I was looking through it when I was going to make another audiobook. I was just going to use the same document from that original first video on the channel. I think no, it's not the first video. It's I think it's the third video. And I was looking at it because I wanted to make it an actual audiobook where I'm actually reading it, maybe with some music. And then I realized there was first off, there was some misspellings. And second, there's just a lot of context that felt missing. And I felt a little creative on that day, so I added a few other things. And eventually I was like, I kind of got addicted to adding more things into it. And now, as you can see, that one I made on February of this year now became has I don't know if it was the 8th or the 7th I was working on this, but basically for 2 months. And now it's this whole big universe where there's now there's multiple of these actual named planets with their own civilizations, with their own cultures and how they different ways that they operate that all connect to this big cosmic narrative, a sort of cosmic Cold War, if you would say, of Energia versus Factorium, the god of the souls, god of the outer, the unmaterial, and of life and goodness and the joy of community, versus the ambitious, the material, empire builder, mathematics, tool maker, the founder of all, the one who gave knowledge of how to build and how to develop into these societies, which was Factorium. But also he can create these empires. I'm getting too ahead of myself. Just, he has pros and cons to his character. Just how Energia, or Gonul, is his actual name. He has 2 names. Alongside Gaia. I know. That's not a new name. I actually made new names for the other ones. But I was like, Gaia, the Mother Earth, and my version of Gaia are basically the same kind of concept, so I just kept the original name. Though if there's anybody who comments on it, so you can give different name suggestions. And, of course, give any criticisms that you have about the story so far, and if there's any faults that you have with it. I think there's little errors or things that are not explained, that I send a message either on my Gmail, or just I don't even know it on the top of my head. But I have a link to it. I might actually put it on a little dialogue box on the side of the video, just for you to see it. But you can just comment on the video as well, and then I would scroll through it and answer any questions you have. I don't have a script right now. That's why I'm kind of going off the wall right now. I just not being scripted with my videos, since it kind of feels fake. But yeah. Any questions down below? And I'll check them out. But anyway. I'm still working on it, by the way, so any, you can, message me and tell me if there's things that are unfinished, because I'm probably going to finish them. The stuff with, this is spoilers, by the way. Not to spoil. You can skip maybe a few minutes ahead. 𝒲𝒾𝓏'𝓈. I haven't finished the part with like the whole birthday wedding thing, which I'm gonna probably have to expand more on that. Which I think is the only other thing that's unfinished. There's also a scene with Factorium talking to a little girl, and the little girl's questioning why he's doing the things he's doing. Why is he doing these terrible things to her town and village? And Factorium trying to justify his actions. And other than those are probably the only things I could think of that I need to finish. Especially the Siegfried part. That's pretty important. But other than that, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna say it again. If you have any suggestions as well, leave it in the comments. Because I definitely want to hear any suggestions to, like, change up my story. Because for right now, I don't have any other ideas. I have a lot of, like, building blocks for this. The story is very built up so far, so I could come up with other ideas later. But right now, I'm kind of pooped out on it. But yeah. Real name, by the way, Aiden Sean Bennett. I'm a Texan. And that's about all you need to know. If I get maybe more viewership or some views, more likes on the video, like at least 1,000. I'm really pushing it. Like 1,000. Maybe I'll show my face. We'll see. I might actually start streaming. I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it, I could start streaming some of this stuff. But anyway, yeah. I'm just gonna spoil some parts of Chapter 4B, so if it doesn't do that, I was gonna just close it. Be aware that I might spoil some stuff for Chapter 4B, because I know I've been hauling these 2 chapters off a little bit. And before anybody asks, they are not technically the same chapter. I know it's called Chapter 4, but they're actually technically different chapters. And the reason why I did this is because I want to reserve a very special spot. I might already said this already, so I'll just repeat it again. I reserved a special spot for Chapter 5, which will, for what I have posted so far, would be Enter the Dragon. I think I might have called it something else now. It's like Enter the Dragon's Den. But, that one so far from what I've written is definitely going to be very interesting. Not as actually interesting as Chapter 4C. Man, there's some crazy stuff that happens in this one. I don't know if I should spoil it or not. From people who are interested. Let's just say Xiaolin is going to not have a very great time. And he's going to learn some lessons. Some real world lessons. And have a bunkmate. And might be sneaking into some specific place. Some place you're not meant to go to. A government facility. I'll say no further. Technically, it might not actually be a government facility. You could classify as it because the government or the second party technically is there and they have operations there. But anyway, I'm going to stop spoiling that one. I'm fine spoiling this one, though. Chapter 4B. Now, I posted like a sneak peek of this. Hold on. Mind this. I'm just checking my... There we go. I made like a sneak peek of this that goes about, let's say, I made some changes. I think I might have made changes. Goes probably around somewhere over here. 6 pages. And that's about it. But as you can see, it's actually blocked. If I can move this. If you can read that right there. It's 41 pages. It's a lot more stuff that happens after that. That developed. So to, I guess, sum it. Spoilers. Big spoilers. For Chapter 4B. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you want to read it yourself, you can wait for it. You guys have been waiting for quite a while. You can imagine. It's been like months. But it's going to come out at some point. Specific details. But be aware, I'm about to spoil. So I might put like a timestamp where you can skip to other parts. But the whole video basically is spoilers, so be aware for that. So after they leave the shore, they basically go to a zoo, which Shallon hates because he's a humanoid animal, and he has a lot of self-conscious issues about that. And Timmy, being a douchebag, keeps constantly bringing up the fact that he is partially animal, which may cause some problems. While the Shifu, Churro, is trying to be in the middle ground and trying to stop them from fighting. And of course, like always, Walt's just there to witness and read his books. Though as well, while that conflict's happening, they're going to these different exhibits, and there's a different history to each exhibit. A different history that animals went through. A lot of them are endangered. like most zoo animals. Endangered mean, I shouldn't say endangered. They are rescued animals. While and there's specific stories for some of the animals. We'll talk about how they built certain caretakers built a relationship with those animals. Like for the elephant, when she or he is painting, learned how to paint with a person's help. And a story with a mother dog basically taking these tiger cubs as her own and feeding them and raising these giants by herself with the human who adopted all of them trying to get a better place for them, trying to get a better home for them. There's also a deer involved. These are actual animals, by the way. They're not like cartoon or humanoid. They're literal animals. I think it's like that. It's like deer is in the enclosure as well. That was raised by the dog. Dog not having pups of her own. She's like raising these other animals as her own children. So there's some conflict there. Obviously, tiger wants to eat deer. And as well, this bear exhibit, I don't even remember if I included gorillas. There might be something about gorillas in here. And basically just like a lot of these mini stories. Specifically ones about elephant, tiger, and another one about a dolphin. And eventually, Shaolin seeing these, he kind of learns to like empathize with these animals because he built a stigma. Like since he wants to be human, he wants to be. He's not actually an animal, by the way. He's sort of alien. Though that whole thing will be explained at another point. If I make an update video, I might explain that part more because that's a whole thing. Let's just say he comes from a planet that has, his species comes from a planet that has these humanoid animal aliens from a very far away world. And Shaolin, who was born on Earth, genetically created, just so happens to be on Earth and living as an Earthling and thinking all kinds of human thoughts, but with the body of a rabbit, which every single schoolmate he ever had that wasn't his two best friends very much bullied him for it and mocked him for it, including his teachers. Which is the reason why he's so self-conscious about it. Which the whole story basically is about him overcoming that and rising above that to become his own person. Until the dark parts of his actual history now fully start coming out. Powers that cannot be explained, abilities he never knew he had, until he becomes valuable to some hidden organizations that won't be talked about yet. Though one of them I can confirm is the Psycho Party. You want to use him for something, which I won't explain yet. Let's just say he has an affinity for using energy and other abilities as well. But anyway, there's something that eventually triggers in the story. Timmy and Xiaolin have a falling out until Xiaolin meets a very specific animal that he interacts with, and he manages to see some aspect of the animal that frightens him very deeply, and he runs away and tries to hide and tries to find some way to go through the same motions he uses to comfort himself when he feels very feels great anxiety. It feels very confused. He needs a way to hide, technically hide from other people's eyes. He's always trying to hide from the public's attention of him. So he always thinks the public's judging him. And eventually, he's in this very low, dark place, hiding in a dark place, where his inner fears and manifestations of the very soul comes out. And it reveals parts of his past, or not parts of his past, dreams he had that are very concerning. Like a darkness that dwells in his memories, an evil that lurks, an evil that feels beyond him. Perhaps maybe a manifestation of his fears about his future, or something from his own past. But terrifying all the same. His teacher lowering himself, sitting down next to him, and acting like a light for him to come back to the world again. And from that, they truly finally kind of get a better relationship with each other. Choro, the teacher, the Shifu, and the student, Xiaolin, who eventually becomes a much better student because of that. And you probably think that's about it, right? That's pretty much the whole story, the whole chapter there. The story of the chapter. But there's other stuff too. You might actually read this in the sneak peek, but you see this? Where's Tsuchiru? He just left with Choro's money. There's something that happens in this chapter as well. You know how there was two different plot lines? If you read chapter 3, the Dutchman's journal, there was actually technically 3 plot lines with the Dutchman, but the 2 main plot lines, at the dojo with Shifu and Zasu, General Zasu, while like the main trio were kind of trying to steal the journal and trying to follow where the journal said that Alulard's treasure was at. A dead man from the 1600s that crash landed in Taiwan at one point. And this is already spoilers. And I'm going to say once again, big spoilers here. If you didn't read chapter 3, Alert is dead, and he is a corpse in a cave. And he puts his final farewell to his daughter and to his wife as he passes to the afterlife, which nobody sees because he's in a cave and he dies alone with his big pots of money that he can't use. Because he can't use it for his family because his family's all the way in the Dutch land. And I guess the Netherlands. And Denmark. And he's all the way on the other side of the world. Well, I guess in ancient days would be called the other side of the world. I don't know. Technically it is. Considering distance. Sorry. I'm logically trying to think about that. I need to let the viewers think about that, not me. But, yeah. By the way, if you didn't check out, go read it. I did say a pretty big spoiler there, but there's a lot of other things that happen there. One really specific fight that is like one of the big fights, the first big fight in the series where two actual martial artists are fighting each other. Which is not going to be the last time, by the way. In fact, there's actually some parts of this story that have very similar motifs to that. This chapter specifically. But anyway, I don't really want to. There's a reason why I didn't talk about that. Is because I don't really want to fully spoil the parts with 𝒲𝒾𝓏'𝓈. That is probably going to be the most entertaining part of the story. 𝒲𝒾𝓏'𝓈 learns a very hard lesson about don't mess with people who are stronger than you. And don't try to tempt them. Especially when they're really pissed off. And going through a coping phase. That's, I've already been spoiling, so I'm not going to spoil any more than that. And a new character pops up. But I won't tell you who it is. Let's just say he is a very vital part for 𝒲𝒾𝓏'𝓈 to learn this lesson. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to end it right there for that. Chapter 4C. Now, I don't know whether I should spoil this one. This is Wizard Vale Chapter 2. This is probably the one I'm not going to work on that I had technically worked on, but I don't know if I'm going to work on it until I get or finish it or publish it, basically, until I get the other two chapters. So Chapter 4C, Chapter 4B, and Chapter 4C. And there might even be Chapter 5 before I get a Chapter 2 of Wizard of Vale out. But if you want to get like a little early version of it, or early summary, Avail has to retrain himself. By the way, if you didn't read Chapter 1 of Wizard of Avail, go read it, and then come back. Okay? Go read it and come back. I'll be waiting here. Sort of. And if you have any criticisms, for the people who have already read it, have any criticisms with that Chapter 1, have any comments, put it down below. I'm very interested in hearing about it, because I feel like I tried to make that chapter a little better, but I feel like there might be some parts that may be confusing or it doesn't have enough detail. If that's the case, please tell me if you feel that way, because then I will know, and you can list a specific part if you want, and then I can go back to it and then I can see if I can make it more detailed. But other than that, the main summary of Chapter 2, Wizard of Avail learned his lesson last time, not being overly cocky, just jumping into battles. So retrains, gets a little better with the sword, and with his other magic abilities, and is sent down to go and find basically order tells him that you can't just like teleport him or send him all the way to where he needs to be. For the first reason being, the Warlock is going to figure it out, because he has a bunch of these spies that are flying in the air that will catch him and see him enter the forested area where the first of Warlock's allies is. I guess I can spoil that he's a troll. The first ally of the Warlock is a troll. A big troll. One of the only trolls that live there. A very powerful, fearsome opponent. And he lives on this, with his own army of not trolls. Living in the mountains. Has a fortification up at the top of the mountain. And so he doesn't want to send him there because Avail's gonna get caught. And the second reason being is that if he just sends him there to fight the big boss, the first big boss, then Avail is probably going to lose because he doesn't have enough experience. He may have trained with some magical arts for maybe somewhat, I guess, around a month. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of real life experience fighting. So he's basically putting him through the other trials by making it go down a much more secret and hidden path of the Neeks. The more mainland Neeks instead of like the few snowy tunnels and the tiny cannons that led into Mikia. Mikia, the village with the haggis. The golden haggis. But, the mainland Neeks, which is this frozen landscape. That's much more bigger than you think it is. Terrifying land. Like the frozen version of a desert. but with mountains. Which is the reason why most people don't go down the eastern kind of path of the Neeks, where the real mainland Neeks is at. Like, comparing it to, like, a road going through, like, some kind of, like, city to, like, a kind of forested area, compared to an actual preserved natural park. He would be going through a national park with no real roads or paths, just some general direction. And then eventually, finally, after a really long time, going through certain puzzles, perhaps finding something, and then getting his fucking hands frozen, his butt frozen, his face frozen. Finally goes to what do you call it? The Ravidian Forest, where like it becomes more like a summer-esque place where a lot of magical creatures as well live there. But also with his own dangers, because like the minions of the troll, which, if you can guess, his actual name is Magnum. I feel like I hinted at that with one of the videos. His minions will be there to try to like disrupt things, try to get Avail captured early, because they were already notified beforehand that Avail was going to, the apprentice of Ordu basically was going to show up by the Warlock himself. If you remember Chapter 1, that the Warlock said to Avail that he was going to do that. He was going to tell all his allies and make them prepared for the arrival of Ordu's apprentice. So now has to deal with all these other dangers as well, on top of like the Skellies being there as well, who have their own new weapons and their own new abilities that they can show. And if you don't remember, the Skellies are these little armored dwarf creatures that are skeletons. So they're like short little skeletons. But don't be dismissive of them yet. They have pole arms, they have weapons. And they're just as strong as a regular man. As strong as a fully grown man. Some of them are even stronger than that, and some of them are not even short at all, and come in these very different forms. Some not even humanoid. I won't spoil that. You can see that for yourself. But yeah. Basically, he meets other characters as well, like some villagers. I think an archer, who's like the guardian of a certain village. He has his own like side quests, learning of the culture of that village, and like some folklore. You could say urban legend, like the medieval version of urban legends about that forest village, about a Pacific lake, and some other stuff, which Ordu would consider training as well, I guess. It's very interpretive. Ordu's version of training is just sending someone out in the world and just letting them live. Make their own mistakes. And then be there to pick them up. But anyway, There's also this whole other. He has to go back to the Nix again at some point to help this girl named Rosabelle and her husband. They're trying to escape from one of the other allies of the Warlock. Someone who's a lot more scary than the troll. If you can believe that. Try to do it like basically almost like an escort mission. And learning how to become a much more better fighter through learning from husband's example. Which I'll have a name for him in the story. And after that, he finally gets to go, which with much more experience on hand, surviving some crazy ass conditions. Oh, sorry for the curse, by the way. Goes through the ultimate test of going up an entire mountain, sneaking through the mountain like Metal Gear style, where he's just sneaking through, avoiding eye contact with like the guards. Which are orcs. And that's some regular orcs, some very ugly looking orcs, who are also forge masters. And have other professions as well. Being the main metalworkers of Solace, the island of Solace, where this is all taking place. It's just a literal island floating in space, if you want to know that. With like this artificial atmosphere. But he's like, Avail's like sneaking through. Eventually going to the top of the mountain. Seeing like, unintentionally seeing like Magnum talking to his minions. And figuring out information about their operations from that. As well as other operations for that the Warlock is planning. And history of that mountain and the orcs and people that live there. And then going up to finally face Magnum, who was also somewhat expecting Avail to arrive, though he didn't really give us much of a crap. Because he cared and didn't care. Because even though his apprentice Ordu, he's just some random. Once he sees him, he's like, "Oh, you're just some random kid." And that's when the actual fight comes out. There's some other stuff that happens as well. Eventually, Avail has to prove himself by fighting a creature that's so much more stronger than him. And he, of course, being from Earth, the actual Earth, that's not very magical at all. He's never got to face somebody who's like fucking like 10 feet. I'm sorry for cursing again. 10 feet fucking tall. He wields this great mighty weapon. And that will be a true test of his skills. And when he defeats that character, he proves to the world and to the Warlock that he actually is dangerous. He's not just some random nuisance that just randomly came into his plans. He's actually dangerous. And he needs to be stopped. And so, tensions start rising and the conflict becomes even more enemies are starting, more powerful enemies will start being sent in Vale's path as he goes and fights the other allies of the Warlock in these completely new realms. I'll spoil the realms. I'll spoil where they would fight at. The second one's going to be underwater, and an ocean kingdom. Kind of think about like Ariel. It's going to be something similar to that. The third one's going to be in a forest, a very magical forest that once was pure and of good magic until corrupted by an unknown disease that turned the fairies rotten and evil, caused by a very specific tree. Very big tree. And the final one is going to be in this this great volcano, lava kingdom with these demonic species who are basically the toughest enemies and characters there are. A true, underground empire led by a very specific villain. And then Abel will be ready enough to finally face the final opponent, being the warlock himself, and his tricks and schemes. His master of illusions. But yeah, that's a basic story for the main projects that I have for now. I've been talking for about an hour? Yeah, I've been talking about an hour. Anyway, as for the things I'm focusing on, it's mainly beginner's creation. I'm going to finish that up. I'm going to go back to Jewel Venture. And after that, I'm probably going to work on Wizard of Ale again and try to figure that out. Probably maybe also work on both of them. Though, I really want to get Chapter 4B out at some point. Finish that up. By the way, reason for a lot of delays, I'm going from stuff in real life. I'm jobless, and I'm trying to find a job, and so I'm not financially stable. It makes it kind of hard to focus on what I'm writing, especially since I get distracted very easily. And the ideas don't really just come out naturally until I start on very specific days I can get so many ideas about what I can do with a story. But on other days I just have nothing. And then I'm busy trying to find what to do, pay my bills. Try not to get distracted with YouTube. And yeah, it's hard. But I really want to finish this stuff and have people like you read it. It's always been a dream to create this whole overarching narrative or overarching narratives that have all this different meaning to it. And really, I just like cool, powerful characters, clashing with each other and having opposing beliefs. I always found in any fiction that I see, that's kind of fun. Though I don't like it, being based on a very specific universe that's already created. I don't like taking other people's universes, like, doing Star Wars or maybe Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I don't know much about Harry Potter. Not a lot of the lore. And some other stuff. Got into Metal Gear pretty recently. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I have to think about this. And maybe like those other fictions and trying to put my own take on it. Because I see all these other people doing that, and that's cool. And even some of them made some pretty great stories out of it. I just don't like. I like doing my own story and try to have my own characters. That's why I put so much effort to make it an original. Have his own taste to it. So I can have like something that came utterly from myself, and I don't have to abide by other universe's rules. It's the rules I set for myself and for the characters. But anyways, I talked a really long time. That's basically all I want to talk about for now. Any inquiries, any questions, send it on my email, which I think I have on my YouTube. If I don't have it, I will post it down below. Or just send a comment on my video. And other than that, that's pretty much it for the update video. Thank you for watching this far in. I greatly appreciate that. Like and subscribe for more content. So I definitely like making this type of stuff. And I will see you when I have like a new update for one of my stories. Probably going to be Beginner's Creation and Joel Venture, though there might be a chance that might be Wizard of Vale. Who knows? Depends on what I feel during the day, honestly. But anyway, that's about it. Stay tuned and cheers.
Well then.